Former WWE superstar Ridge Holland has hit out at WWE in a new social media post for releasing him whilst he was injured, acknowledging that yes, WWE is going to pay for his surgery, but he is unable to work while injured and may be unable to pay his mortgage. We'll let you know all of the details on this and more in this news update. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's begin with Ridge Holland speaking out and expressing his frustration with the way that he was fired by WWE. Now, Luke Menzies, who has performed as Ridge Holland for the past several years, feels like he has been hung out to dry by WWE after the company informed him his contract would be allowed to expire on November 14th, despite Holland currently being out of action for at least several months due to injury. He posted the following statement on social media saying, quote, "I never thought I'd not be able to pay my mortgage. I feel like I've just been hung out to dry after getting injured working for another company on behalf of WWE. Add to that, my contract not being renewed, knowing that I wouldn't be able to wrestle for 7 months. This is brutal. Yes, they are taking care of the surgery and physical therapy, but let's be honest, that's the bare minimum after what we sacrifice for the company, plus the possibility of having to get my neck fused too. Talk about being totally fucked." Now, of course, when it comes to Holland, he was informed by WWE in mid-October that the company didn't plan to renew his contract and he would be a free agent when his deal expires. Holland is currently on the shelf after suffering a Liz Frank foot injury during a TNA taping in September, and Holland has also noted that he may require neck fusion surgery. As he mentioned, WWE will cover Holland's rehab costs, but he will no longer be paid a guaranteed wage by the organization after his contract ends. WWE's stance on Holland reportedly left the company's wrestlers, quote, "universally disappointed," end quote. Holland signed with WWE in 2018, and he had runs in the company across NXT and the main roster. The 37-year-old signed a 1-year extension with WWE in November of 2024, accepting a pay cut of $200,000 to remain with the organization. Holland was also not paid any extra money for working the TNA tapings as a WWE representative. So what are your thoughts when it comes to this? Should WWE be doing better, or is this the problem when you're an independent contractor? Let me know your thoughts as always in the comment section below. Now let's go over to last night's WWE NXT, and Joe Hendry has a tag team partner. The closing segment of the November 4th edition of NXT on the CW saw newly crowned AAA World Mixed Tag Team Champions Chelsea Green and Ethan Page celebrating their title win. Over the weekend, at AAA's Day of the Dead event, they defeated La Hidera and Mr. Iguana to capture the titles. As Green, Page, and Alba Fire were basking in their victory, Joe Hendry's name came to mind, and they agreed that they should not say his full name, or else Hendry would pop up out of the cake that was in the ring. The AAA World Mixed Tag Team Champions had Fire say it, and Hendry emerged, but from the entranceway. Hendry went on to say that he wants a shot at Green and Page's titles, and went on to reveal that his partner will be Thea Hale. Hale popped up out of the cake, and her new partner and she took the fight to the champions. The title match is set for NXT Gold Rush. Now, Zarya, she has advanced in the tournament to crown a new women's speed champion. With Sol Ruka being sidelined with an injury, she opted to relinquish her WWE Women's Speed Championship. A tournament was then set up to determine a new champion. A first-round match saw Ruka's partner Zarya versus Ren Sinclair. Zarya emerged victorious and is now headed to the finals. She will face the winner of Fallon Henley versus Skylar Ray, and the tournament final will take place also at NXT Gold Rush. Speaking of Gold Rush, we're also going to have a TNA Knockouts World Championship match on that show. November 18th and November 25th are the dates for NXT's 2-week Gold Rush special from the theater at Madison Square Garden. TNA Wrestling, AAA, and Evolve are going to be involved in the show. On the TNA front, after Knockouts World Champion Kalani Jordan picked up the victory over Tyra May Steele on the November 4th NXT, TNA Director of Authority Santina Marella appeared via video and announced Jordan's match for Gold Rush. She'll be defending the bout in a triple threat match against former TNA Knockouts World Champion Jordynne Grace and TNA star Li Ying Li. Li threw out the challenge to Kalani on social media. Kalani and Grace met in a title match on October 28th, and Kalani hit Grace with the title to retain the championship. Now, a big week next week for WWE NXT. The full lineup for the November 11th edition of NXT on the CW has been put together. On the marquee is a last man standing match between Trick Williams and Ricky Saints for Saints NXT Championship. The WWE Women's Speed Championship tournament will roll on, and the men's speed title will be up for grabs. The current NXT Women's North American Champion, Blake Monroe, is scheduled to be interviewed by her better half on the November 11th show. She was informed by NXT General Manager Ava that if Sol Ruca is cleared to compete, Monroe will defend the North American Championship against her at NXT Gold Rush. Now, speaking of titles, there's been so much conversation and confusion when it comes to the WWE World Heavyweight Championship recently. Seth Rollins' shoulder injury at Crown Jewel Perth caused WWE to throw out their main event plans for the next several months, with the company ultimately stripping Rollins of the World Heavyweight Championship. A new World Heavyweight Champion was then crowned at Saturday night's main event as CM Punk defeated Jey Uso, but a different option appears to have been considered. During the uncertainty around the World Heavyweight title, WWE held, quote, very major conversations, end quote, about John Cena and championships, Sean Ross Sapp noted on Fightful Select Answers Q&A, suggesting Cena may have been considered to win the vacant World Heavyweight Championship. Sapp also noted, however, that they aren't sure how far those talks progressed. While Cena may have not become World Heavyweight Champion, Sapp added that him winning the Intercontinental Championship from Dominic Mysterio and becoming a WWE Grand Slam Champion is in the process and has been discussed. According to recent reports, Cena defeating Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship at Survivor Series was actually the plan as of a few weeks ago. This would lead to John Cena versus Gunther in Cena's retirement match at the December 13th edition of Saturday night's main event. Whether or not that will happen, we'll have to wait and see. Now, speaking of the World Heavyweight Championship and the brand new champion CM Punk, he opened Raw on Monday, but the segment had some timing issues according to reports. The opening segment of Monday Night Raw went well over its allotted time, causing issues for the remainder of the show from Rio Rancho, New Mexico. CM Punk opened Raw to celebrate his World Heavyweight Championship victory over Jey Uso at Saturday night's main event. But the new champion was quickly interrupted by Logan Paul, and then the Vision's Paul Heyman, Bron Breakker, and Big Bronson Reed. The Vision ultimately attacked Paul and Punk, with Paul ending up on the receiving end of a tsunami from Reed. The segment came to an end when Punk chased off the Vision with a steel chair. The opening segment from Raw went on the air. It ultimately lasted 25 minutes, with Brian Alvarez of the Wrestling Observer reporting that the segment ran long by around 10 minutes. This caused the company to scramble to make up the lost time in later segments. Raw has often had a runtime of around 2.5 hours since the Monday night show began airing on Netflix at the beginning of 2025. The November 3rd episode finished with a runtime of 2 hours and 43 minutes. While Punk made the save for Logan Paul in the opening segment, this backfired on the new World Heavyweight Champion in the closing moments of Raw, as Paul laid him out with brass knuckles after initially saving Punk from a Vision beatdown. Paul then handed his brass knuckles to Paul Heyman, seemingly joining the faction in the process. Now, several matches have been confirmed for tonight's AEW Dynamite, including ones that have big ramifications for the upcoming men's and women's Blood and Guts match. Tony Khan took to social media on Tuesday, November 4th, to make some big announcements regarding both Blood and Guts matches, which will take place on Wednesday, November 12th. On the women's side of things, Khan revealed that the Blood and Guts advantage will be granted in a best 2 out of 3 series. On Wednesday's Dynamite, Megan Bayne will take on Queen Aminata. Saturday's Collision will feature a match between Jamie Hayter and Sky Blue. If necessary, Tekla and Harley Cameron will battle on Collision in the third match to determine the winning team. The men's match will feature the same concept, with Orange Cassidy and Claudio Castagnoli battling on tonight's Dynamite. The show will also feature a bout between Darby Allin and Daniel Garcia. If necessary, the third match will take place on Collision, with Roderick Strong taking on Jon Moxley. So those all set for the next few episodes of Dynamite and Collision. Now, as far as the Blood and Guts episode of Dynamite, it's going to be a little bit extra special according to reports. All Elite Wrestling will present the latest edition of Blood and Guts on the Wednesday, November 12th episode of AEW Dynamite, that being 7 days from today. It'll be the first time that 2 Blood and Guts matches have taken place on the same night. The show from the Greensboro Coliseum will be a bumper edition of Dynamite due to the stipulation matches, with Fightful Select reporting that it has been indicated Blood and Guts will be an expanded episode of AEW's Wednesday night show. The TSN schedule in Canada has Blood and Guts listed for a runtime of 2.5 hours, longer than the show's usual 2-hour runtime. The men's Blood and Guts match will see the Death Riders take on Darby Allin, Roderick Strong, and the conglomeration's Orange Cassidy, Mark Briscoe, and Kyle O'Reilly. The women's Blood and Guts match is Chris Statlander, Timeless Toni Storm, Jamie Hayter, Queen Aminata, Willow Nightingale, and Harley Cameron versus Mercedes Moné, Megan Bayne, Marina Shafir, and the Triangle of Madness's Tekla, Julia Hart, and Sky Blue. The original plans for Blood and Guts were changed due to Penelope Ford's injury, and it was implied to Fightful that the stacked roster for the women's match may have been a pivot to add buzz for the show. Now, Saturday night's main event was this past weekend with CM Punk becoming the brand new world champion, but reportedly there weren't many people backstage. Now, typically speaking, backstage at a pro wrestling event is among the busiest places to be during a week of pro wrestling. Not only are there dozens upon dozens of wrestlers in the area, but there are announcers, interviewers, producers, writers, executives, and various production staff there. Also just guests visiting, likely meaning there's upwards of 100 people backstage during a wrestling show. As such, it would leave it highly unlikely for the backstage environment to be described as a, quote, ghost town. And yet, that appears to have been the case this past Saturday for WWE's latest edition of Saturday night's main event. Fightful Select reports that word coming out of the show was that the backstage area was in fact described as being a, quote, ghost town. The reason for this is because WWE chose not to bring in many people for the show, thus preventing the normal influx of personnel backstage. While no reason was given for why WWE decided to have so few people backstage compared to other shows, it would seem to line up with the overall lack of talent featured on Saturday night's main event. The special contained only 4 matches, down from the average of 5 usually featured on WWE PLEs/specials, while the matches themselves featured a combined total of 9 wrestlers, an unusually low amount for a WWE show. In another rare occurrence, no run-ins or angles that would have involved additional talents took place. The only non-wrestling related moment on the show wound up being John Cena's pre-taped video announcing the Last Time Is Now tournament, where the winner will get to face him in his final wrestling match at next month's Saturday night's main event in Washington, D.C. Now, a bit of an update here on what were possible plans for Jacob Fatu at Survivor Series later on this month. Over the past month, WWE's plans for the men's War Games match at Survivor Series have been completely jeopardized by the number of injuries that have occurred on the main roster. It initially seemed like Seth Rollins would lead the Vision into a match against a team of babyfaces, but after he was legitimately injured at Crown Jewel, WWE quickly pivoted by having Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed portray him following the PLE. Additionally, with Roman Reigns and the Usos reuniting as of late, many believed their cousin Jacob Fatu would assist them in fighting the Vision, but he was recently written off television to undergo a dental procedure. Although there was some clarification on the creative direction for Survivor Series on Raw, Dave Meltzer shared a new update on Fatu's health status and the potential competitors for War Games in a new edition of Wrestling Observer Radio. He said, quote, "Even though Punk did this thing about kind of knocking Roman Reigns, I mean, my gut is that is still the plan, is Punk, Roman Reigns, the Usos on that team, with probably LA Knight as the other guy, because Jacob was supposed to be in it. I mean, it could be Jacob if he's okay to wrestle, but he's just had his surgery, so I don't know if he's going to be okay by the end of the month." Although Fatu could still be involved in the men's War Games match, Rollins' shoulder injury is said to be severe enough it will keep him out of action for 6 months, according to Rollins himself, with WWE hoping he can return in time for WrestleMania 42 in Vegas next year. Now, a bit of an update here on Drew McIntyre. Here's WWE contract status. Vince Russo has been trying to get some publicity for Juggalo Championship Wrestling, and he actually publicly invited Drew McIntyre to perform for the company whenever his WWE deal is up. Unfortunately for him and JCW, Drew McIntyre re-signed with WWE in the spring of 2024, as right after WrestleMania. If you recall, The Rock actually announced the news and sent a public congratulations to Drew, whose deal came down to the wire, but ultimately put pen to paper to stick around with WWE for several years to come. Now, Fightful Select has a new report saying they gained some specifics around McIntyre's new deal. Outside of it being into the millions of dollars per year, Fightful are also told that there's about 2.5 years left on it. That would carry Drew into 2028. Now, Fightful can't confirm it specifically, but it was hinted to Fightful that it was a 4-year contract that would carry him at least through WrestleMania 2028. In addition, Drew McIntyre actually, ironically enough, said he wanted to work JCW during his indie days. It never ended up happening. Specifically, he had heard of the company's good reputation for how they treat talents, but don't expect McIntyre and Russo to be working together anytime soon. Now we have the viewership information for last week's episode of WWE Monday Night Raw on Netflix. As viewership for other professional wrestling television programs continue to struggle due to the new way Nielsen calculates ratings, the viewership for WWE Raw, which is calculated with Netflix data, has not been doing much better either. The October 27th episode of Raw, the go-home episode of the show for Saturday night's main event, which featured a face-off ahead of an important match for the vacant World Heavyweight Championship, fell in numbers from the previous week. According to WrestleNomics, using Netflix data, the episode of the Red Brand fell to a 2.3 million average global viewers number over a period of 7 days, tying for a record low from the September 22nd and September 29th shows. That was down from the 2.6 million average global viewers the show drew for its October 20th episode. The October 27th show ranked 8th for the week globally among English language programs on the streaming platform and ranked 4th domestically. The show tied in the domestic rankings from the previous week, but fell 2 spots globally. In the United States, Raw was beat out by Nobody Wants This Season 2, Selling Sunset Season 9, and the first season of The Asset. The show managed to beat the new season of The Witcher, which ranked 5th in the States. The show featured a face-to-face between then number 1 contenders for the vacant World Heavyweight Championship, CM Punk and Jey Uso. The pair would go on to face each other at Saturday night's main event, of course, where Punk would win the title. Elsewhere on last week's show, Roxanne Perez defeated WWE Hall of Famer Nikki Bella, and in the main event, Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss retained their Women's Tag Team Championships over Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. Switching over to AEW, and a bit of a setback here when it comes to Brian Cage and his return to in-ring competition. Cage has suffered a setback in his recovery from injury, with the All Elite Wrestling talent revealing he will need to undergo another surgery. He wrote on Instagram, quote, "I busted my ass and have done everything imaginable to come back as quick and as healthy as possible. That being said, I have some news that nobody would want to hear. There is an issue on the operation I had on my right knee. I was fighting an uphill battle that no amount of therapy, modalities, stem cells, peptides, etc. will go into fix. I have to go back under the knife for them to try and fix or correct the situation," Cage wrote on Instagram. Being upset and depressed upon hearing this news is beyond an understatement. It's maybe question a lot and bring a bond of a bunch of doubt. I hate having this was me mindset, and hopefully when they get in there, it's best case scenario. And even if it's worst case, once we get this fixed and back on track, I'll pick up the pieces, I'll rebuild and become a better version of the machine once again. Now, Brian Cage has been out of action since he suffered a torn quadriceps during an independent wrestling match with Chris Masters back in March. Due to being on the shelf for several months already, Cage opted to undergo knee replacement surgery in June. Brian Cage has been part of All Elite Wrestling since 2020. He was featured as part of the Don Callis family in a tag team of Lance Archer prior to taking time off due to the injury. Now, of course, next year's Royal Rumble, or should I say a couple of months' time's Royal Rumble, is taking place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, but don't expect too many surprises, according to a new report. One of the major appeals behind the men's and women's Royal Rumble matches is the expectation of surprises, which occur when the entrants are revealed. Surprises from the 2025 Rumble include the likes of Joe Hendry, Isho Speed, Alexa Bliss, Jordynne Grace, and Trish Stratus, to name a few. There may be, though, a lack of surprises at the 2026 Royal Rumble, however, due to the PLE taking place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. According to Brian Alvarez of the Wrestling Observer, there is a feeling there may not be any Royal Rumble surprises due to the difficulty of sneaking planned surprises into Saudi Arabia without them being discovered ahead of time. Instead, any Rumble surprises would most likely be revealed at Saturday night's main event 1 week before the Saudi Arabia show, Alvarez noted. Saturday night's main event will emanate from Montreal, Quebec, Canada on January 24th, 1 week before the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia on January 31st. 2026 will be the first time WWE have held the Royal Rumble outside of North America. The company have continued to expand their partnership with Saudi to the point the country will host WrestleMania 43 in 2027. And finally, a bit of an update here on Pretty Deadly. Have the tag team split up? The future of Pretty Deadly as a tag team was up in the air over the weekend after Kit Wilson debuted a new entrance theme on the October 31st episode of Friday Night SmackDown for a singles match with Carmelo Hayes. WWE commentator Corey Graves even noted that Pretty Deadly's old Yes Boy catchphrase was old stuff, only adding fuel to the fire that the team had been quietly scrapped. Wilson has performed as a singles talent on WWE television since May, having wrestled across WWE Speed and Main Event before returning to SmackDown on Halloween. Wilson has been without Elton Prince due to Prince being ruled out with injury, and Pretty Deadly have not performed together since the May 2nd episode of SmackDown where they faced Fraxium. Despite concerns about Pretty Deadly, Kit Wilson has already shot down rumors of a split with Elton Prince, tweeting, quote, "I'll never break up with that man." Fightful Select has also reported that there is a high likelihood that Pretty Deadly will reunite when Elton Prince returns from his injury. Elton Prince and Kit Wilson have teamed together on a full-time basis since 2018, and they made their way to WWE television as part of NXT UK in early 2019. Pretty Deadly are one-time NXT UK Tag Team Champions and 2 times NXT Tag Team Champions. But there you go, guys. Latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.